Hey there. I want to read something that I found, and it's regarding to 2027 and the cycle that ends. And it's from Ra Uru Hu. I found it on Facebook, and it's a nice read. And I thought, like, yeah, why not read it out loud? So please lean back, enjoy. But beginning in 1615, every single intellectual development in humanity was offered to the community because there was no choice. And it wasn't like suddenly human beings changed overnight and became nice and friendly. You strip away the programming, you've got a world full of killer monkeys. This is what the not-self world is. It is a control mechanism. We are living under an enormous control mechanism, and it is going to go away. Think about what the 4037, the channel, brought us. The first thing that it brought us was the first true industrial age. The building of factories. The industrial age and the building of factories and the beginning of providing organized work for the community led to a number of demands. What are you going to do with the children? Institutionalized education began. The great programming of minds began. The community began to be propagandized and formed by the institutionalization of education. Along with that came benefits. That is what we would eventually call modern medicine, the building of hospitals, care facilities, all of these things. The establishment of true modern states that all went through revolutionary transformation during this time in which the people rose up and took power. The American Revolution, the French Revolution, the revolutions all through Europe, all of these revolutions that transformed these ancient rulership from above, in which the community was nothing but fodder to a world in which the community and everything is for us. We think that modern democracy is because we have become more enlightened and more aware. If you believe that, I have things to sell you at incredible prices, because it has nothing to do with us. Human beings are so malleable, we are so deeply conditioned. Take the nodes of the moon. They're approximately 3 months in a gate. Those nodes will go into the moon and make a connection to somebody that gives them a definition that suddenly they think they've got this and that and the other thing, and off they go and they are running, and 3 months later it goes away and they drop like a stone. Well, we are about to have this on a global scale, because we are used to all of this stuff. We're used to everything being for the community. We're used to institutionalized science. Can you imagine? If you go back to the very beginning, to the cross of planning, to the Newtons and whatever, you go back and you have these individual flashes of genius that define the nature of what science was going to be. You can pick their names out of history books at the beginning of a cycle, and now Nobel Prizes by committee. 39 professors sharing the Nobel Prize for some obscure little whatever, finding some truth. We live in a totally different world. We live in a vast, institutionalized, deeply controlled world. And it is not because this is what we want. It is not because this is what we work for. Think about all of these philosophers who actually think we have done a great job. I have a huge ego, and I'm not mad enough to think I have done anything. The madness of it. All of those philosophers are leading us down a trail that is going to be incredibly depressing. Because the fact of the matter is that the moment that this cycle changes, all of those things that we have taken for granted about our interrelationships with other human beings on this planet wave goodbye. You think it is natural to us that we are able to have a world in which we are all connected and everything works and we respect each other and all of this stuff. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But see, this is where we are at the end of the cross of planning, and that if you look all around you, you will see that all of these institutions are beginning to fall apart. And all of them, governmental, non-governmental, charities, all of those things, school systems, international aid agencies, think about international aid. One of the things that is so obvious to me about the nature of the world is how incredible cruel it is. We have 40,000 babies that die an hour that don't need to. We live in a hellish place. It is a hellish place. There's an arrogance in those that have been able to avoid most of this to try and turn away from what that is. Think about all of those children in the world today that will not survive, will tomorrow till tomorrow unless there is some foreign agency, some foreign charity that is going to deliver their medicine, their food, whatever there is. We spend billions and billions and billions and billions in delivering all of these services all over the world through these kinds of agencies. This is the cross of planning. This is what Marshall McLuhan taught where in Toronto when he said that the world is a global village. We have to be concerned for our world community. We have that amongst all of those that want peace on earth and all of that spiritual stuff. But you see, it is falling like a stone, and we have no control over that, none whatsoever. It's not like it can be saved. Look at the financial institutions. This way of trying to control the energy of the world, organize the energy of the world for the benefit of the community. When you look at the cross of planning, you see it has got the 16th gate, the gate of skills, the 9th gate, the gate of the detail, all of this profound digging into things, this incredible energy and skills to serve the community. This city, this morning when I got up and I looked out at the city, the millions and millions and millions of people, and this morning they have to eat, they have to make a living, they have to get from one place to the next, they have to be able to count on certain things being available. They have to count on the trust that is inherent in community, in the way in which we create these bargains in our modern lives to be able to have these kinds of vast communities function without everybody going crazy and killing each other. You think it is natural that you have a place like Shanghai that is 13 million human beings? You think there is something that is going to be able to maintain that when the background frequency changes? Because it is not in us to be community with the world. I'm sorry. I know it is a nice idea. It is not what we are like, because if you take away the background frequencies that insist that all of us deal with being in a community, this side or that side, those who hate globalization, those who love it, the whole dynamic of it, we're so blind, we're so lost in the propaganda of this age that we don't see it. There are still people that think that we're going to get to Mars and that things are going to get smaller and we're going to have these chat ships and flying around and, You think any kind of institution can run if there is no background frequency that says, this is what you do? If the background frequency isn't there, human beings aren't going to do that. They're not. The 4037 says that everything is about loyalty. So much of what we deal with in this life is rooted in the bargains and loyalty that arises out of it. That favorite shop that you like to visit or eat, all of these things are all built into this formula. And it's a globalized formula that has been there for hundreds of years. The cycle that we are in now is a great opportunity for us at the close of a very important time for us. This is our flowering as humans. Please understand that after 2027, humans will no longer have the opportunity to flower. Our time will be over. Not that we are all going to drop dead or anything, but the fertility of what it is to be a human is going to be sacrificed for the fertility of the possibility of what it is to be a rave. That is what we have. That we have a great mutation that is taking place that is rooted in our emotional system. This is the most important time in the history of our particular branch of the human family. In the approximate 200,000 years, this form has existed from the 7th century to the 9th century, being in 1781 to this point now. This is the place to find the truth. And if you look around you in this world, if you Google, I hate saying that because I don't like these people, I like the service. If you Google, you cannot, in your lifetime, you cannot read all the truths that have been revealed in these years since the beginning of 1960s. There is truth being revealed every millisecond, literally. There is this unbelievable pressure for us to get it now because we are not going to have the support in the future, and we are not. Where are we going is the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And the cross of the sleeping phoenix is the darkness to the light of planning. And I don't mean that to sound heavy in that sense. I just mean that in the sense that we are dealing with absolute polarities. The cross of planning is fundamentally tribal. We have had hundreds of years in the development of global community. The sleeping phoenix is fundamentally individual. Those children that are coming into the world, those children that are coming post-2027 who are going to be like us, that they are going to live in a world that is going to be incredibly different than this one, because the background frequency isn't saying, make a bargain with a neighbor. The background frequency is saying, forget about your neighbor, look after yourself. When the precision of the equinox leaves the 37.1, it enters into the 55.6, selfishness. The great global theme is going to begin with selfishness. That is a different world. Think about all the support mechanisms and all of the bargains that you need to live your life right now. You think about it. Your life is saturated with the dependencies, and it is saturated with the dependencies on all the inherent bargains that are built into our civilization. We take for granted the electricity will work, the internet will run, the stores will be open, food will be on the shelves, all of that stuff that we take for granted, what we think we are responsible for. Vanity, 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 vanity. It's all it is. We're not in charge of anything. We're not in charge of our nature. We're not. You just look at anybody's design and you can see that. We're not in charge of anything. We are here in the movie. Our process is about awareness. It's about passenger consciousness. It's about separating ourselves from what the cycles do. And please understand, I'm not fear-mongering. I'm not worried about my children, my grandchildren. I'm not. Because they will have something that will allow them to navigate on the plane at any time. Strategy and authority is about the unique human process. It's not a dependent on the tribe. It is not dependent on agreements. It's not dependent on bargains. It's not dependent on loyalty. It's not dependent on any of that. And if you want to be able to survive, you have to be able to have your own authority, because there is not going to be any authority you can turn to. Right now, that's how everybody is trained. You've got a problem, dial 911. There's some authority somewhere, someplace that is going to be the key for you. There's somebody that you can call. We will call them and have it fixed, right? The cross of planning is such an incredible seduction for us, because we are at the end of it and it all looks so well. Look at us. Look at what we have done. Yeah, well, I see what we have done. I see that there's 2 billion of us that are hungry. When you scratch the surface, you have nothing but ignorance and you have nothing but fear. This is what we expect now, that the world is going to deliver, that our governments are going to deliver, all of this stuff. There's a certain level of civility only because of the background frequency. That day will come when the background frequency goes away, where it is going to be very hard to get a whole group of people together to do the same thing. All of this modern life of ours has been determined by our integration into these communities, our participation as citizens, all of these things, our responsibilities to our nation states, to our religions, all of that. It is all built on the cross of planning, and it has kept everyone in a certain level of control. Homogenization, the not self, this is the vast control mechanism at work. You're never ever going to be able to change it, to feed it. You can't do anything. You can't save the world. I know that. The world is intent on not being saved. It is not what the world is about. It isn't even what life is about. Everything that I understand about the nature of being is that everything is about mutation and change. The only thing that is constant is change. Those great stories about Inca civilizations that rose and overnight, boom, gone. What are you looking at is the crowning glory of our civilizations. 100 years from today, it is gone. The world as we know, it's gone. You take away the background frequency, you change the frequency. When you change the frequency to me, I, the us and the we are done, toast. And then it is a different world, and most human beings are ill-equipped for it, because human beings have never been taught how to be their own authority. Here is the trap of the cross of planning. The cross of planning says, you don't have to worry. Get a thesaurus, get a dictionary, or call your doctor, go online. You don't have to worry. You don't have to decide anything. You don't have to think. And they don't. Advertising tells them what to wear, what to smell, what to eat, where to go. What authority? Human beings don't have authority. It is the first thing you have to give up to be human. The moment you come into the world, you have to deal with those authorities that are going to control you and determine what your nature is going to be. People aren't taught. They don't know how. How many times I have people connect to me and say, I don't know what to do. And I say to them, me neither. This is movie watching because there isn't anything else to do. There isn't. It's not about us saying, okay, we have to stop this huge thing rolling off the cliff. We're not going to do that. Hopefully we get a good seat and you get to watch the movie and you get to see where all this is going without fear, without concern. Because you see, if you have your own authority, you've got a ticket. That's the whole thing about life and what is coming. What happens when you dial 911 and there is nobody there? And nobody answers? What happens when you go to the hospital and the door is closed? What happens when there is no police in the streets because they are stealing? The cross of planning isn't just about some kind of funny concept out there. It isn't. It's the whole fabric of our lives. We will work it out. We have our committees and our committees and committees of committees and those other committees, and eventually we will have an answer for you. And of course, the politicians are doing what they have always done during the course of planning. They say they are working for us. Have you noticed that? That is the classic 40. Oh, I am working for you. I have always wanted to work for you. Where did I get the money? Well, while I was working for you, I was rewarding myself. We have a very interesting history. There have been many, many, many variations in my family tree. As a matter of fact, they just found a fascinating one. They found a finger in a cave in Russia. At first, they thought it was human, and after doing a couple of years of DNA research, they discovered that it is an entirely new species. And in that particular area in Russia, at one time, there were three kinds of us. There were Neanderthals, what we were to become the Homo sapiens, who were brand new then, and there were all the other creatures who were even older than the Neanderthals, who were still there, and they've made jewelry. They're going to be operating out of an awareness system that is an emotional system and not an emotional system that we... Oh, sorry. Let's do this again. There's a cut, and then it jumps to somewhere else. They are going to be operating out of an awareness system that is an emotional system, and not the emotional system the way we understand it. So he's talking about the raves now, not about Neanderthals, obviously. Our emotional system, the 9-centered emotional system, is dominated by waves. It is the motor function that is the whole thing, and it is the motor function that causes both the dysfunction and possibilities. It is also the motor dysfunction that in essence gives us the nature of our world, a world that seems to be a roller coaster of pain and pleasure. All of that is delivered by the emotional system. But those who are going to be born post-2027 that are going to carry this mutation in the solar plexus center are not going to be carrying a wave frequency as we understand it. It is the next progression. We began with splenic awareness. We evolved as 7-centered beings with Ajna awareness, and now the fulfillment of the 9-centered process is the fulfillment of the potential of emotional awareness. Our species is splitting up again. It is what we do, this family tree of ours. Very, very rapid evolution. You look at the history of human evolution, we have gone through, as far as we know, we are about 14 variations in 14 and a half years. The shark has been the same for 200 million years. The spider for 300 million years. The rat for 500 million. Understand how different we are. We are just moving along in this evolutionary progression. It keeps branching, and in that branching system, we always end up with those different branches of the family existing at the same time for a certain amount of time. Now, in my process, I was told that all of this is going to come to an end anyway. We are not going to disappear, humans are not going to disappear. We are going to be less and less fertile, slowly but surely, as we move into the next 200, 300 years. More and more of the right beings, the raves, are actually going to be coming into this world, but we are going to live together till the end. We will each have our way, and we will have no connection to each other. Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal never had a relationship. There is no evidence in the genetics that they ever made it, that they ever connected to each other in any way. We're not going to have any connection to these creatures other than they came out of us, because that is part of why we are here. It is part of what the 9-centered mechanism is, what it is about. I am human, I am 9-centered human, and everything I understand about the rave is not something I like because it is something that is connected to me. It is not connected to uniqueness. It's not connected to the magic of what it is to be in one of those enclosed forms. Not being a spiritual person myself, I don't rationalize that raves giving of themselves to a larger whole is a wonderful thing, because as a human I know that we are going to compete with that larger whole, and it is going to be much more competent in dealing with the material plane than we will be. Pantas, people of 3 to 5, Pantas dominate the world. That's why we use it for business analysis. Analyst? I don't know. Nothing is more aggressive than a panther when it comes to survival. You're going to have beings that are deeply rich in an awareness potential that is all going to be given to a larger whole. It is not human. It will not care about us. It will not have any of our stories. My concern is humans moving forward, that we get to live out the fullness of the beauty of what it is to be us. Despite the nature of the world, despite everything I have seen, every time I look at the chart, no matter whose chart it is, I understand the magic, absolute incredible magic of what it is to be us. The possibility of what it is to be us, to be able to fulfill that uniqueness that allows us to walk on this plane in the way we were intended to, free of guilt, free of fear, where eyes open, seeing life for what it is and taking in the richness of that. This cycle, I love it. I love it. I love this enormous wheel turning. It is not something to fear. Please understand that. But it also means that you have to let go of certain kinds of conditioned hope. Those fantasies, those dreams, all that nice stuff about what could be, might be, should be. It is all very sweet. Thank you very much. It is useless. I'm a practical man. You take care of your business, you take care of yourself. You learn how to operate through your own authority so you can trust it, so that you're always safe, so that you're always correct, that you can handle whatever is there. That's what matters. Thanks for listening. I hope that inspired you. And if you want to support me, go to my Linktree and buy me a coffee. Bye for now.